It was just after 1 in the morning on Friday, October 7th, 2016, when I made a decision that still haunts me every time I pass those woods. Looking back now, I keep wondering if things would have been different had I taken the longer route home. Maybe I would have reached my house 10 minutes later, laughed about the strange clown sightings everyone had been talking about, and forgotten the entire night. Instead, I chose the shortcut, and for the next several hours, every shadow felt alive. Earlier that evening, I'd been hanging out at a friend's house less than a mile away. We spent hours talking, watching videos, and enjoying the start of the weekend. By the time I finally headed home, I was slightly buzzed, just enough to feel relaxed, but nowhere near incapable of knowing what I was seeing. The streets were almost completely deserted. Porch lights glowed faintly in the distance, but otherwise the neighborhood felt abandoned, as if everyone had vanished behind locked doors. Eventually, I reached the familiar T-intersection where two quiet roads met. Off to the side was a narrow dirt trail disappearing into a dense stretch of woods. During the day, I never thought twice about using it. It cut straight through the neighborhood while the roads twisted and curved around the forest, saving nearly 10 minutes of walking. At night, though, the trail always felt different. The darkness swallowed everything only a few feet beyond the entrance, and without sunlight, every tree looked like a motionless figure waiting in silence. I stopped for a moment, staring into the black opening between the trees. The sensible choice was obvious. Stay on the road. Keep walking under the occasional streetlights and arrive home a little later. Instead, I pulled out my phone, switched on the flashlight, took one uneasy breath, and stepped into the woods. The beam barely reached more than a few yards ahead. Fallen leaves covered the ground, damp from the cool October air. Every footstep produced a soft crunch that seemed far louder than it should have been. Branches creaked overhead whenever the wind shifted, and somewhere deeper in the forest an owl called into the darkness before everything fell silent again. That silence didn't last. About 50 yards into the trail, I froze. Somewhere ahead, beyond the reach of my flashlight, came the unmistakable sound of footsteps. At first, I convinced myself it was probably another group of teenagers. It was Friday night, after all. People sometimes wandered into these woods to smoke, hang out, or escape their parents for a while. Under normal circumstances, I might have simply announced myself and kept walking. But these weren't normal circumstances. For weeks, social media had been flooded with reports of creepy clowns appearing across the country. Some were harmless pranks. Others involved people chasing strangers, lurking near schools, or standing silently beside roads late at night. My own area had been filled with rumors and police reports. Most people laughed them off. Standing alone in those woods, I wasn't laughing anymore. My heartbeat accelerated as the footsteps grew louder. Instinct took over before I could think. I quickly covered the light on my phone, switched it off, and slipped behind the thick trunk of a nearby tree. Holding my breath, I pressed myself against the rough bark, hoping whoever was approaching hadn't noticed the brief flash of light. The footsteps kept coming, closer, steady, unhurried, and then, without warning, they stopped. The silence that followed was almost unbearable. I stood perfectly still with my back pressed against the tree, barely daring to breathe. My heart hammered so violently that I was convinced whoever had stopped on the trail could hear it echoing through the darkness. The only sound left was the faint rustling of leaves as a cold breeze drifted through the forest. Whoever was out there wasn't speaking. There were no whispers, no laughter, no conversation, just an unsettling stillness that seemed to stretch on forever. I couldn't stop thinking about the light from my phone. Even though I'd switched it off almost instantly, it had probably been enough. If someone had been looking down the trail, they would have seen it. They would know someone was hiding nearby. Every instinct told me not to move, but curiosity got the better of me. Very slowly, I leaned my head around the side of the tree, careful not to make a sound. At first, all I could see was darkness. Then my eyes adjusted. Two figures stood motionless in the middle of the trail. For a split second, my mind refused to process what I was looking at. The shapes seemed too strange to be real. Then the details came into focus. Oversized costumes, pale faces, and unmistakable clown masks illuminated by the faint glow of the moon filtering through the trees. My stomach dropped. They weren't talking. They weren't moving. They were simply standing there, facing my direction. Every frightening news story and viral video about clown sightings rushed back into my mind. I'd imagined this exact nightmare before, wondering what I'd do if I ever encountered one of those people hiding in the woods. Now it wasn't imagination anymore. It was happening. I became convinced they had seen my flashlight and had stopped because they knew someone was hiding nearby. Questions raced through my head. Were they waiting for me to reveal myself? Were they trying to scare me? Or were they deciding what to do next? The tension was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Time seemed to slow to a crawl. My legs felt locked in place, and even breathing felt dangerous. Every second stretched endlessly as I waited for one of them to take a step toward my hiding place. Instead, after what felt like forever, but couldn't have been more than 20 seconds, one of the clowns turned slightly. Without a single word, both figures continued walking down the trail as calmly as if nothing had happened. I didn't wait to find out where they were going. The instant they disappeared far enough into the darkness, survival instincts took over. I burst from behind the tree and sprinted toward the opposite end of the woods, crashing through leaves and snapping twigs beneath my shoes. I no longer cared how much noise I made. All I wanted was distance between myself and those silent figures. The trail finally opened onto the road. Across the street stood my house. I ran the rest of the way without looking back, reached the backyard, grabbed the hidden spare key, and hurried inside. The first thing I did was lock the back door. Then I rushed from window to window, pulling the blinds shut as quickly as I could. But before I closed the living room blinds completely, I glanced across the street. At the edge of the woods, the two clowns were standing perfectly still, facing my house. For several long seconds, I couldn't look away. The two figures stood at the edge of the woods exactly where the trail met the road, completely motionless. The faint glow from the nearby streetlights barely reached them, leaving most of their bodies swallowed by darkness. All I could clearly make out were the pale outlines of their costumes and masks. Whether they were actually looking at my house or simply standing in that direction, I couldn't tell. But every instinct in my body screamed that they knew exactly where I lived. Neither one moved. They didn't wave. They didn't gesture. They simply stood there like statues, creating a silence that felt more threatening than if they had been shouting. A chill ran through me as I stepped back from the window and quickly shut the blinds. I double-checked the lock on the back door even though I knew I'd already secured it. My hands were trembling so badly that it took 2 attempts before I finally managed to calm myself enough to breathe normally. My mom had already gone to bed hours earlier, but I couldn't keep this to myself. I hurried down the hallway, pushed open her bedroom door, and called her name. She woke almost immediately. "Mom, there are 2 clowns outside." Even saying the words out loud sounded ridiculous. She sat up, instantly recognizing the fear in my voice. Without arguing or brushing it off, she followed me to the living room. I pointed toward the window while she carefully pulled one corner of the blinds aside. Nothing. The street was empty. The woods were silent. The clowns had vanished. It felt exactly like something from a horror movie. Moments earlier, I had been staring directly at them. Yet by the time someone else looked, there wasn't a single sign they had ever been there. Although she hadn't seen them herself, my mom believed me. She knew I was shaken in a way she'd never seen before. She asked me to lock every door and window one more time before trying to get some sleep. Eventually, I made my way back to my bedroom. The slight buzz from earlier in the night helped dull the panic just enough that exhaustion began catching up with me. I climbed into bed, turned off the light, and lay facing the wall, hoping sleep would erase everything that had happened. It didn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I pictured those silent figures standing among the trees. Minutes dragged by. The house remained perfectly quiet. I rolled over to face the rest of my room, unable to get comfortable. Moonlight leaked through the blinds, casting thin stripes across the floor. I kept imagining someone standing outside the window, just beyond my view. The longer I lay there, the stronger the curiosity became. Were they really gone? Or were they still outside, watching? I told myself I was being paranoid. After everything that had happened in the woods, my imagination had every reason to run wild. I tried to convince myself that the clowns had simply wandered off after realizing I had made it home. The house was locked, my mom was only a few rooms away, and there was no logical reason for anyone to still be outside. Still, sleep refused to come. Every tiny sound seemed amplified in the darkness. The hum of the air vent, the occasional creak of the house settling, and the branches scraping softly against the side of the roof all sounded unfamiliar. My eyes stayed fixed on the window, watching the narrow strips of moonlight that slipped between the blinds. Then it happened. Thud. The sound was sharp enough to make my entire body tense. For a second, I couldn't even breathe. Another thud followed, slightly louder than the first. It wasn't coming from somewhere outside the neighborhood. It was coming directly from my bedroom window. I knew exactly what it had to be, yet I refused to move. Every instinct told me that if I stayed perfectly still, maybe whoever, or whatever, was outside would think I was asleep and leave. I squeezed my eyes shut and remained frozen beneath the blanket, listening with every ounce of concentration I had. Another impact, then another. Each one grew harder, rattling the glass just enough to make me fear it might shatter. My pulse pounded so violently that I could hear it inside my ears. I kept waiting for the sounds to stop, but they only became more aggressive, as though someone was deliberately testing how much pressure the window could take. Finally, curiosity and fear overwhelmed me. Keeping the rest of my body perfectly still, I slowly turned my head toward the window. One corner of the blinds didn't completely cover the glass. Through that narrow opening, I saw him. A clown stood only inches from my window. His head was tilted unnaturally to one side, almost as if he were studying me. His face was partially hidden by the darkness outside, but the pale mask caught enough moonlight for me to recognize exactly what I was looking at. He wasn't banging anymore. He was simply staring, straight at me. That single glance destroyed every attempt I'd made to stay calm. I screamed at the top of my lungs, threw the blankets aside, and ran from my room without looking back. I raced down the hallway to my mom's bedroom, crying and struggling to explain what I'd just seen. She didn't hesitate for a second. Reaching beneath her bed, she grabbed the pepper spray she kept for emergencies and hurried toward my bedroom with a determination I had never seen before. But by the time we reached the window, the clown was gone. The yard outside was empty. There were no footprints, no movement, and no sign that anyone had been standing there only moments before. Yet I knew exactly what I had seen. And this time, I wasn't going to let anyone convince me otherwise. My mom searched around the outside of the house as carefully as she could without putting herself in unnecessary danger. Pepper spray in hand, she checked beneath my bedroom window, scanned the backyard, and looked toward the street. Every few seconds she paused, listening, hoping to catch the sound of footsteps or see someone running away. There was nothing. The neighborhood was as quiet as it had been all night. The wind stirred the leaves in the trees, and somewhere in the distance a dog barked before everything fell silent again. Whoever had been outside my window had disappeared so quickly that it was as if they had never been there at all. Unlike the stereotypical reactions you see in horror movies, my mom never dismissed what I told her. She didn't accuse me of imagining things or blame it on the few drinks I'd had earlier that evening. She had seen how terrified I was. She knew the panic in my voice wasn't something a person could fake. Even though she hadn't caught the clown herself, she believed every word I said. Neither of us slept much for the rest of the night. Every unexpected noise made us glance toward the windows. Every passing car caused us to peek through the blinds. Morning couldn't come fast enough. The following day, my mom contacted the police and reported what had happened. She explained that people dressed as clowns had been harassing us and lingering around our property during the night. Whether it was connected to the wave of clown sightings being reported throughout the area or simply an isolated incident, we didn't know. The report was taken, but there were few answers and no suspects. I wanted to believe it was over. I tried telling myself that whoever those people were had moved on and chosen another neighborhood. For a while, that seemed possible. Life slowly began returning to normal, even if I avoided walking through those woods after sunset. Then, just when I thought I could finally put the experience behind me, it happened again. The following night, I happened to look across the street. Standing at the edge of the woods, exactly where I had first seen them, was another clown. He wasn't walking. He wasn't hiding. He was simply standing there, facing my house with the same unnatural stillness that had terrified me the night before. The sight made my stomach tighten instantly. Every memory came rushing back. The silent footsteps in the woods, the figures waiting on the trail, the pounding against my bedroom window, and that tilted head staring through the gap in the blinds. Since then, I've lived with a constant sense of unease whenever darkness falls. Even now, I find myself checking windows more often than I used to and looking over my shoulder whenever I pass that stretch of woods. The strangest part is that I still don't know what those clowns wanted. Maybe they were only trying to frighten people. Maybe they were waiting for someone to react. Or maybe there was another reason they kept returning to my house. If they ever come back again, I plan to capture a photo or video, not because I want to relive that night, but because I know what I saw. Whether anyone else believes it or not, those figures were real. And somewhere beyond the trees, in the darkness where the trail disappears, I still can't shake the feeling that someone may be watching, waiting for the next person